Hey, my name is Kay Jane. I'm 17 years old and I have a strange feature. I don't know how to have fun. Yes, nothing at all. From anything. How do I live with it? Now I tell. I was born an ordinary child in a normal family. As a child, everything was fine for me. I was taken to various clubs, sports. I loved playing football, getting high from running, and I was especially happy when I scored goals against the opponent. I was also a great guitar player. I used to write songs and select music myself, and then perform for my family on holidays. I was always applauded. At this moment, my heart sank with pleasure. I also loved to eat, and I had a great preference for Korean cuisine. Spicy noodles, rice with meat, fish with sauce, their famous kimchi, and all this washed down with cold soda. I also enjoyed reading. Taking a shower, I liked the smell of my favorite perfume, the touch of a soft air blanket, but the greatest pleasure I got with my girlfriend, Catherine. She evoked so many emotions in me. I loved her to distraction, went crazy from her sweet voice, gorgeous figure, from our kisses. She constantly hugged me and I felt the warmth of her body. And when we read together with her, ate, made love, it was the greatest peak of pleasure. So one day, I had an argument with the teacher at school. I failed the exam. It was my own fault. I didn't prepare well, and I failed. The teacher told me to retake in 2 weeks, and I had plans. Catherine and I were supposed to go to a friend's house for a couple of days to celebrate the start of summer vacation. It was my last exam, and I just couldn't study anymore. I wanted to get out of here with the girl I loved. So I had a fight with the teacher, and he kicked me out of the class and said he wouldn't accept me until I had learned a lot of lectures. It's unreal. He was bullying me. I left the office very angry and got into a car as the rain poured down with a terrible wind. I drove towards the house at high speed. I saw a dog around a sharp bend, turned sharply to the left and cut into the car. I passed out instantly, came to myself in the hospital. Many wires and droppers were connected to me. I felt bad. My mother immediately came up to me. She began to cry and calm me down. I didn't know what was going on. Later, the doctor came and told me that I had an accident and was now in the hospital. At least the person I hit wasn't hurt. Then my Catherine ran up to me. She was so tearful, swollen with red eyes. I've never seen her like this in my life. She was scared as hell. Rena hugged me and put her hand on my cheek, but I didn't feel anything. There was no warmth, no humidity from the kiss. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel anything at all. In my head, a lot of thoughts, questions. In the background, my mother asked something from the doctor, and I keep thinking about it. Rena called me, and I looked at her and asked her to kiss me again. She kissed me on the other cheek, then on the lips, and laughed, adding, "You just need a kiss." Then I asked her to take my hand, and she said that she already keeps it, and then I was no longer in the mood for jokes. I was scared. I started to panic. "Doctor, am I paralyzed?" He looked at me in surprise, asked me to do a couple of exercises, but everything was normal. I could move my arms, legs, and head. I explained that I didn't feel anything. Doc checked for himself and fell into a stupor. He told me not to panic, and then instructed the nurse to run some tests on me. Within a few days, I was diagnosed with a couple of things, including something like burnout. Complete bullshit. I couldn't have this condition because I was happy, almost always. I lived in my own pleasure. Everything was fine. With my family, with my girlfriend. I didn't complain about anything. And you know, the most annoying thing is that I almost do not experience positive emotions. Is that negative? I was discharged from the hospital and I came home in a bad mood. This is a normal state for me now. I tried, on the advice of doctors, to make an appointment with a psychologist. Diligently visited him twice a week, but otherwise, I picked up the guitar and didn't know if I was holding it or not. My hands are neither cold nor hot, so I can easily bathe in cold water, but I can't play the strings anymore. I don't feel hot food or cold. I don't feel the taste. I almost don't feel pain. And the worst part is that I don't enjoy it. In addition to everyday tasks that became meaningless, my relationship with Rena reached a dead end. She certainly tried to cheer up, read a lot of materials in the field of medicine, trying to understand how to deal with my illness, but it did not help. She spent all the holidays and hovered over me like a bee, bring, serve, clean, and she kissed and hugged me, but no, none of this worked. What I have learned over the years is that it is a malfunction in my body, a certain pathology that has not yet been invented, either a treatment or a name. My life has changed dramatically by 360 degrees. I withdrew into myself, stopped communicating with my friends, dropped out of school, and broke off my relationship with Catherine. Ask why so radically? I don't want to be treated like I'm about to die. And even more so, Catherine is a beautiful girl. She deserves better, so I couldn't afford to ruin her life. Given that I had become an emotional vegetable, I couldn't even give her sex. Therefore, I consider my decision to be correct. What is happening to me now? I'm still so special, only now I've learned to live with my body. I started talking to my friends again. They are already used to the fact that I just don't smile. But in general, I can talk, walk, see. After several years of training, I learned and got used to eating healthy food. Just what is needed for the body. I remember the taste sensations by heart. By the way, do you remember my girlfriend Rena? 2 years later, we met by chance in a park. She was out with her friends, and I was walking my pet dog. She saw me and immediately came over, hugged me, smiled, said I looked great. The first thing she asked about my condition. I said that nothing has changed, except that the way of life. She started crying and said she missed me, and then she kissed me. It's strange to kiss a person and almost not feel it. Catherine wrote every day. I understood what she wanted. In the end, we had a serious conversation with her about us. She said that in these 2 years, she had not talked to any of the guys, and she accused me of not giving her a choice. I apologized, and that's all I could do. In general, we have been together again for almost a year. Rena is used to me, as I am to myself. It makes me feel much better. Who knows, maybe her love will heal me. Do you think you can buy happiness? But at what price? I tried it once, and I admit it almost cost me my life. I'm Steve. I'm 44, and I'm a drug addict, I said when I went to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. Oh yeah, it happens. For as long as I remember, I've been trying to change my life. For example, when I was a schoolboy, I came home every day after school. I didn't go out with my friends. I didn't try to meet girls. I went straight home. I knew that my mother was waiting for me at home and that she needed me. I would open the front door, drop my book bag in the hallway, and go to my bedroom. My mother was always there, didn't go out, didn't like the neighbors. She kept saying that they just wanted something to gossip about. Already in the corridor, the sharp smell of alcohol hit my nose. The house was dark, even during the day, because the windows were always curtained. My mother didn't like it when people stared at our house. That's what she said. On the way to her room, I collected scattered items, sometimes bottles of cheap drinks. I wonder if she ever eats, I asked myself. I always brought her a dinner, but I took it away 2 hours later, untouched. But there were plenty of empty bottles. As long as the house had at least some money from her grandfather's inheritance, she ordered alcohol delivered to the house. Are you home yet? She asked me. Yes, Mom, I would say to her and go to my room. This is my little kingdom. I always remembered the time when my father came home from work. My mother cooked a delicious dinner and called me from the street. The 3 of us would sit down at the table, thank God for everything we had, and only then would we start eating. God gives, God takes, as they say. But why was all this taken away from me? My father left us for another woman, and since that time has never called. My mother could not bear the betrayal and began to drink. First, once a month. Then, every day. I still tried to be a good son for her sake. I thought maybe she would remember me and return to being the same caring mother. I was wrong to hope. I was 24 when she died of cirrhosis of the liver. Imagine, the funeral was just me. It was awful to bury a single close to you, but still alone. I didn't know how to go on living, how to deal with the emptiness. Now I was completely alone. One morning someone rang the doorbell, and when I opened it, no one was there, and there was a flyer on the ground that said pain vaccine, and there was a message inside. Great minds have invented a vaccine for pain. This mental analgesic was quickly spread throughout the city among the local residents, but it did not go beyond its borders. The elders decided to keep the recipe a secret in order to become immortal and absolutely happy. So it was at first. Everyone could only envy them, and with the most real envy, they did not care about anything: the death of a neighbor, unhappy love, humiliation of honor and dignity, mistakes, insults, or quarrels. They were absolutely happy, forgetting about the wounds that can't be cured with skin antiseptic, wounds that don't heal. They figured out how to sew them up. Want to know how? Come. Then there was an address and location. To be honest, I didn't think for a long time this is what I needed. In the evening, I packed up and went to the indicated place. It was creepy unsociable. Then there was the door to the bunker. At this time, a guy came up. We looked at each other and realized that we were both going to the same event. He rang the doorbell, and I noticed a cool ring on his finger. My father gave it to me when I came of age. It's a family heirloom, he said, noticing my curious look. I felt awkward. They opened the door for us. It was quite cozy inside. A pleasant-looking girl stood at the entrance. She led us into the hall. There were several other people sitting there. We were all different: old men, women, and men. The only thing they all had in common was that their wounds didn't heal. A couple of minutes later, a middle-aged man came out to us. He immediately began to talk about his life, about the loss he had suffered, how lonely he felt, and how the pain vaccine had helped him. The sense of invincibility has given me the advantages in life that I am dealing with now. I have my own business, house, car, but the main thing is that I'm protected from everything that can harm, he said. I listened carefully and understood, and this is exactly what I needed. It is enough to please someone, to take responsibility for the sins of my parents, to blame myself for my own existence, for all the strikes that I received from my drunken mother. That's enough. At the end of the meeting, this man handed out questionnaires to all of us and asked which of us wanted to try the vaccine. The guy with the ring and I both raised our hands. The rest decided to think about it. I was told to come back in a week, and that dude was supposed to stay. After 7 days, I returned to this bunker. The man made the speech again. When everyone was gone, Jack, that was his name, invited me to dinner. We went into the dining room. He promised to let me try the vaccine. The vaccine was invented by my ancestors. We help those in need become happier because we know the value of happiness and know what grief is. I would like to continue the work of my great-grandfathers to help people free themselves, Jack said. He poured the same vaccine into my glass and told me to drink it down. It tasted like ordinary wine. I felt nothing but a little dizzy, and Jack immediately said that the effect would come later. We continued eating. I felt more and more dizzy. After my ancestor invented the vaccine, people started asking for more and more. They didn't know the measure. Over time, carelessness was replaced by indifference. Then came cynicism and coldness. Everything was devalued feelings, the taste of victory, empathy, fear of loss. But they forgot about the balance. Because there is no day if there is no night. Without yin, there is no yang. Happiness is not only good, but also bad. Without the terrible, the beautiful loses its uniqueness and beauty. Yes, Steve? He asked. I suddenly choked on my meat. I came across something solid. I spat it into my hand and saw the ring. Disgust, mixed with horror, came up in my mouth. Jack smiled and shouted that he was God and would restore the balance in the world, that he would punish all the unrighteous who wanted free happiness and rid the world of sinners. He grabbed a knife and tried to attack me, but I barely dodged, grabbed the candlestick, and hit Jack on the head. Then I ran out into the street before his assistants arrived. To my good fortune, the police came by. It turns out that the vaccine is a drug that cultists use to pump into people and then eat them. They thought of themselves as sort of keepers in this dirty world. I recovered from the shock and realized that happiness never comes for free. But I never got rid of my drug addiction.